Hello, this is Pablo Pasos from CaboLabs Health Informatics, and on this video I will try to guide you through the process of creating, storing and querying clinical documents compliant with the OpenEHR standard using the EHRServer as a clinical information repository. So this is the first step, the first video that I will do in a step-by-step way, trying to show you every step you need to do to actually use the EHRServer and use data that is compliant with the OpenEHR standard. The OpenEHR standard is really complex, it's big, and I will try to make this process as developer friendly as I can. So try to follow me through the steps. I will explain every single step needed to store and query clinical data and be compliant with the OpenEHR standard. And while I'm doing that, I will try to create some kind of flow here to have a full process designed on how you do this, and I will share this flow with you after I publish the video. So the first thing you need to have on your computer, of course, is the EHRServer, because it's the tool that we will use to store and query and manage clinical data following the OpenEHR standard. So to install and configure the EHRServer, what you need to do is to go to GitHub, search for EHRServer. I have the link here because it's one of my repositories. So when you are on the EHRServer, you can clone and download the latest development version from here, or just use the Git tool to clone the repository on your local computer. Here you will find some information about the EHRServer. Basically, the EHRServer is the first open source clinical data repository that is compliant with the OpenEHR standard. It was developed through the last 5 or 6 years. I don't remember when I started this project, but after a lot of proof of concept steps, I finally got something working, and since then I was improving it and adding features. So all the code is here. You can download it from here. There is if you are interested in the process of creating the EHRServer, in LinkedIn there is an article about that shows step by step the process. I think it's here somewhere. This is just in case you're interested. I think it is on our blog. It is somewhere here on LinkedIn. It's here. It's EHRServer from proof of concept to software as a service. This is, I will publish this link. Also, you can find it here, I think somewhere. Also on our blog, plus you can find here on our blog on CaboLabs.com/blog some EHRServer related posts, articles here. You might find that useful. So that's that. After you cloned or download the code, you need to change some configuration. You need to have MySQL installed or Postgres. You can use Postgres, but the default database that we use is MySQL. And if you go to the Cloud EHRServer website, you go to Learn, and here below you can find the EHRServer guide. Yeah, and if you go to installing the EHRServer in your machine, you will find all the steps that you need to actually install the EHRServer and have that configured for working on your local machine. That's just maybe 3 or 4 pages of configuration. That's it. And after you follow these steps, I won't go through these steps. I will just show you where the steps are. You will have the EHRServer installed and configured. Yeah, so that is our first step. Our second step will be to run the EHRServer. Because I have the EHRServer already downloaded from GitHub, because this is my development machine. I am the developer of the EHRServer. You will run the server locally. For this, you need Grails to be installed. This step is also on the guide, so don't worry. After you follow the guide, you will have this framework installed. So you will have this command available. So with in the project, Grails run app, enter. What this will do is this will run the EHRServer locally in a development environment. That will generate the database schema for you. So the database will be empty, and after you run the project, it will create all the tables and some basic data like the administrator, user, and some other data. Yeah, that is the basic data that is needed for the EHRServer to run. Yeah, there is just configuring everything and running. I will just close some applications here. These errors are just logs, internal logs. So if you receive errors from MySQL, these are not really errors. This is a problem that some internal library from the MySQL connector has. So these are not really errors, and the database is created correctly. Then it is loading some terminologies, blah, blah. But what you will see at the end, if everything went okay, is server is running, browse localhost 8090/EHR. So I will go to that address, localhost 8090 EHR, and there it is. We have the EHRServer running. When you have this running, I will add another step here. Run EHRServer. You can select on which language you will use the EHRServer. Right now it supports English and Spanish. I will use since this video is in English, I will use the English in the user interface. And the default admin user is admin, and the organization number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. And if everything is okay, I will be able to log in into the EHRServer, and this will show me the web console. This web console is for managing the EHRServer. It's not for end users. End users will use end user applications, mobile applications, web applications to browse through the clinical data, or just store clinical data in the EHRServer, but they will use some kind of application that connects to the EHRServer through the REST API. Yeah, so this application, this user interface is just for administrators. Second, when you are here, what you want to do is to create some EHRs. Because what the objective of this video is to store some clinical data and be able to query that clinical data. All the clinical data is contained on an EHR. So we need to create an EHR. So you will see that you will start with no EHRs here. I will click on plus. EHRs can also be created from the REST API. What this asks is just the subject UID, that is the patient unique identifier. I will, because I am just testing, I will just put some numbers there. And the organization, since all the EHRs are associated with an organization, I will just select the default organization. That is the only organization available when you run the EHR server for the first time. Yeah, and with that I hit create, and we have on the EHRs we have the first EHR available. Yeah, I will just close this. Perfect. If I go to the EHR, I can see the details. There you can see the EHR UID, the patient identifier, the one that I said, the identifier of the organization that this EHR belongs to, when the EHR was created, and the system ID under the EHR was created. This is just a default system ID. This is not important right now. But right now we have the first EHR and we can start sending data to this EHR. Now, the challenge is, how do we create an OpenEHR valid data set that we can actually commit and store on this EHR? So, what we need to do is to follow the OpenEHR process to create first a definition of the clinical record that we will store on this EHR. That definition is called template. Yeah, so basically we need to create a template. If we go here to the templates, you will see that you might have some templates here. I have one test template here, but we need to add, or we will add a new template created from scratch. So I will show you how to create templates. Since I'm in Linux and the tools that I use to create the templates are Windows only, I will open a virtual machine where I have those tools installed. So what I will do is just create a sample template. Remember, a template is a definition of a clinical document or a clinical record, I would say. And what I will do is I will create a definition for recording exercise, data about exercise. And first, before creating the template, that is the full definition of that document, I need to create the parts of that document. And those parts in OpenEHR are called archetypes. So basically, first I need to open the Archetype Editor that you can find on the OpenEHR website. I will show you that later. So I will create, these are all the types available from the OpenEHR information model. I will select observation, but because what we will do is to record some measures. And when you record something that can be measured or observed, is an observation. And here I will add a name, physical activity record, for instance. Yeah. And that's it. So I will show you, if I go to the OpenEHR website and you go to tools, modeling tools, you will see here Archetype Editor. This is the tool that I'm using right now, and you can download it from here. And the Template Designer is the tool that I will use after the Archetype Editor to create templates. And you have a couple of versions here, and are Windows only. Yeah. So next step is to design archetypes and templates. Yeah. So that is what we are doing right now. Yeah. So to define the structure, the data structure of this physical activity record, we'll go to definition. Then we will select which fields and the type of those fields that we want on our record, on our structure. Yeah. So what I want is first the type of exercise. Yeah, because this is physical activity. For the type of exercise, I will select the text element here. I will put a name tab of exercise. Yeah. And this will be a free text field if I leave it like this. But I want this to be a selector of fixed values. Yeah. Of code. These values will be coded. So I will select here the constraint. Sorry, this user interface is in Spanish, but this is done automatically by the Archetype Editor. Also, Spanish is the default language here. I will try to add English as a language. They're English. Sorry, the Archetype Editor takes the language of the time zone, I think, the current locale, and change to English. And I will remove that. I will remove this. Good. So this will be coded values, this second item here, and I will add as values. I want walk, yeah, type of exercise, run. I can say it like running, walking, swimming, biking, I don't know, skateboarding, and you can keep going on these values. The nice thing, and I will remove the ES from the name. Good. Nice thing about this is we have an element that is of type text, and it will be a codified text, and the available codes or the valid codes will be these ones. But you can only see the names here. Inside, if you see here below, the Archetype Editor is assigning the codes automatically to each option. So you can see AT0009 for skateboarding, AT0005 for walking. Yeah. If you go here to ADL, ADL means Archetype Definition Language. It's the source code of the archetype. And you go down, 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 you will see you have an element that is a code text, and the values are these codes. Yeah, walking, running, blah, blah. These are comments, just comments. If you go below, if you search for those codes, this is Spanish and this is English, you will find that AT0005 is walking, AT0009 is skateboarding. So archetypes are also multi-language, can be translated. Yeah. So go back to definition, and we have type of exercise there. Also, we want to record some estimation of the calorie consumption during the exercise. So I will add a node of type quantity, and this will be calorie consumption. I think calorie is written that way. Let me double check if I'm writing this correctly. It seems it is the right term in English. Sorry, I'm a native Spanish speaker, so I need to double check. Calorie consumption, good. We need to set which physical property this is measuring. So we will go to here, and calorie consumption will be a measure of energy. Yeah, energy consumed. So I will look for energy, blah blah blah. Let's here, and I will select the units, and I have calories here. So I can select calories, or I can select kilocalories, for example. Yeah. So calorie consumption will be a physical quantity, that is something that has a numeric magnitude and a unit, and the units should be one of these, or calories or kilocalories. Yep, this is a constraint. And also I want the duration of the exercise. For the duration, I can also set a quantity here and duration there. This will be, let's see if I have duration here. I have time here. So duration is time, so the physical property is correct. This can be, for instance, minutes or maybe hours. Yeah, so duration can be 30 minutes, yeah, or 2 hours. Yeah, that seems correct. And also I can add maybe a comment here. Comments. Yeah, that will be free text, so that's okay that way. And this will be my structure for the physical activity record. Yeah. If I go to this here, this tab here, I can see a user interface generated that gives me the idea of what the end user will see. Yeah, but this is just an idea. This has no functionality. So here I have the type of exercise, and you will see all my options there. Calorie consumption, I can add a number, and this can be calories or kilocalories. Duration, I can add a number, and this can be minutes or hours. And then a comment, I have free text there. Yeah, so this works. Okay, so I will save this archetype. So I'll put this here. I will create just a folder, EHRServer Flow Demo, and you will see that this will create a file, physical activity record, and the extension will be ADL, Archetype Definition Language. Good. Since every data structure in OpenEHR is contained in a composition. Composition is like the model for clinical documents. Yeah, in OpenEHR, I need to create a composition that contains this physical activity record. Yeah, so I will create another archetype, and I will select composition from here, and this will be physical activity document. Good. I will go to definition, and what this will have is a slot that is a reference to the observation. I don't want to name that slot, and I will select from here the archetype that I just created. It will be here, EHRServer, and this is physical activity record. Open, then here is the include plus button. I add it. This asks me if I want to add also the specializations of this archetype. I will say no. I won't do any more complex process and won't explain what archetype specialization is right now because it's a little complex. But this is what we need. The minimum minimal amount of tasks that we need to make something work, yeah, in OpenEHR. So here we created from the document a reference to the physical activity record, and that is what we need. If we go to here and we go to ADL, we can see the reference from the composition to the physical activity record archetype there. We just save this on the same folder. What I need to do also for this is I need to add English as language. This is because the default language is Spanish, sorry. And I need to add the translations. This is just removing these things, blah, blah, blah. I need to add a description there. That's it. So that will add the English translations that I need. You will see here English and Spanish. Spanish has the English term, so in reality, if I want to create English, Spanish, Portuguese, blah, blah, I need to actually translate these terms. Yeah, because we don't need that, we just need the English version. We'll just keep it as it is. Yeah, and that's it on the archetype side. Then we need to add these archetypes to a template. Yeah, so I will open the other tool that is the template designer, and this tool can be configured to run in any language. So here I have some shortcuts. One is for Portuguese, one is for Spanish, and one is for English. I will open the English one. Yeah, the shortcuts, what they have is they have just a parameter here, yeah, that says which language should be configured this on the user interface when running. Yeah, and this one has English, United States. That is enough. Yeah. Then we have the whole thing in working in English, and you can see that here on the title bar. Yeah. Now, what we need to do is to add a repository here that points to our folder where our archetypes are. So I will go to Tools, Knowledge Repository, Edit Repository List, and I will, it seems that this has a maximum amount of repositories, so I can't add a new one here because I have a lot of them. So I will go just to the sample repository, and I will change the path to the path of my folder here. So I will just change this. I will paste the same path on the 3 inputs here. I will close, and from this button I will select sample. It's already selected, you can see that. And if I open composition, you will see physical activity document. That is my composition archetype. And if I go to entries observation, you will see my physical activity record. That was not saved correctly. If you see the name here is the name in English, but it has this. So I will open it again. I will remove the asterisk from there, and the ES, change language, English, and here you can see these characters that I don't want. If I go to terminology, we have everything right. And this, I won't change this. I will just remove the ES. This will be 3 event series. I will remove the asterisk from here. I will save that. Those are the limitations of the tool itself. Yeah, so you don't have to worry if your you are living on an English-speaking country, you won't have these problems. But it's just, you can solve that in a couple of seconds. And now this was refreshed on the template designer, and I have the name looking good here. Yeah. So for the templates, we started creating the smaller parts first and the bigger parts, that is the composition, later. And on the template designer, we need to follow the opposite steps. We need to add first the composition to the left panel, and then you will see here a slot that is content, and you can see the slot is blue. And if I select the physical activity record observation that I created before, and I drag that to the left, you will see the content highlights in green. That is telling me that I can't drop this archetype here. And this will generate the whole structure. If you see, I have here physical activity document, that is the composition, physical activity record, that is the observation, and we have here type of exercise, calorie consumption, duration, comment. Yeah, so that is our full clinical document structure. And I will save this. First, I will change the name here, and I will put here physical activity document. Yeah. And then I will save this physical activity document on the same folder, and you will see a OET file is created. This is the template, yeah, but it's the source template. It has just references to the composition and the observation, yeah, that we created before, just the references. What we need to do is, from this, we want to export a template that contains the full structure, and that is the template that we will work with, and it's the operational template. So you go to export there, and you can see export as operational template. We want that. And you can see physical activity document.opt, this is for operational template. We'll select the folder, will be desktop, EHRServer Flow Demo, this one, perfect, export. This will take a while to resolve all the references. And you will see that the OPT, the final template, is way bigger than the OET, that is the source template. Yeah, the OPT is the one that we will work with in software, and the OET is the one that we can edit after. I can open the OET and I can change some structure and then save it and then generate another version of the OPT. Yeah, but the OPT contains everything, and it's just an XML. You can see all the references there to the full structure, and you can see, for example, here are all the codes for the type of exercise. Yeah, and then you will find the structure for this will be for the calories, the calorie consumption. Yeah, you can see the units there. This will be the element for the duration. You can see minutes and hours there. All the constraints are there. And then you will see a free text for the comment. Yeah, this is just a text. So all the structure of the document is defined here. So when you have the OPT, you need to upload the OPT to the EHRServer. So the EHRServer knows which types of documents and what is the structure of those documents that will be stored in the EHRServer. So the next step is to upload OPT to EHRServer. Yeah. Good. Since this folder, I will just close this, close the template designer. Since this folder is on my virtual machine, I will copy that folder to my host machine. So this is my Linux, this is the desktop of my Linux machine, the host, and I can copy this folder to here. So we have that there. I will just minimize the virtual machine. Minimize this, minimize this, minimize this. And we have here on my host machine all the files and the OPT. So to upload the file, the OPT file to the EHRServer, we need to go to the EHRServer web console. We need to go to templates, this screen, and here on this button, this is the upload button. We click on that, we browse, we select the OPT file, and I will show you desktop, EHR Flow, and you will select the OPT file. You open and you upload. When you upload this file, you will get some validation errors. I will show you that. And most people have issues with this. Yeah, these are XML validation errors. What this is telling us is that the template ID in the template, in the OPT, doesn't conform with this regular expression. Yeah. And that is a constraint we added to be able to manage the operational template versions in the EHRServer. If you go to the OPT, you open that on a text editor, any text editor will work. Yeah. What you need to do after you export the OPT is to change it a little bit. You will look for this tag. This is template ID. I will show you this highlighted as XML, so it's easier to find. This template ID, you can see this is just a text. What I will do is I will change this text for a structured identifier. And this should be lowercase, then dot language. The language of the template is English, and then some version number is B1. Yeah, this is the physical activity document, is in English and is version 1. And there are two tags, two template ID tags. Yeah, one is here and the other one is below. It's almost at the bottom. You change both with the same identifier. Remember, it should be some kind of text without spaces and lowercase, dot English or Spanish. For Spanish you put ES, for Portuguese you put PT here, dot B1, because this is the first version of this template. We save this and we try to upload it again. And hopefully this works. Yeah, I just changed the template ID and uploaded that again to the EHRServer. It was validated. It passed the XML validation, and we have the template ID in the format that the EHRServer accepts that template. Yeah. Why is that? Because with free text template IDs, we can't manage the templates. Yeah, so this is something to manage the templates, because sometimes you want, for example, the same template on different languages, or you might have two templates with different versions that are the same template conceptually, but you have different versions. I won't enter into much detail on how versions for templates work. I want to tell you that you need to change the template ID that is exported from the template designer. Yeah, so we don't need to use these tools anymore. So to save some memory, I will just close the virtual machine. Yeah, so we have more memory available to work with. So we have the OPT uploaded, but before the OPT was uploaded, we needed to change the template ID value in the OPT. Yeah, we needed to do that. In our Git repository, this is related to why the template IDs should have that format. You can have here, there's a page, template management. Yeah, and here you can see how this works. Yeah, you have all the details here. So I will just copy this here. Yeah, and we upload that the OPT to the EHRServer, successful uploaded here. You can see the XML here. This is just the XML that we uploaded. And if you go to the list of templates, you will see the template here. Yeah, so everything is set. Next, what we need to do is to upload some data. So this is another process that can be a little tricky, but I will try to put it simple for you. We have a tool that is called the CaboLabs OpenEHR Toolkit. And this was designed to help developers to make these tasks as easy as possible. Yeah. So what I will do, I will just zoom out a little bit, is I will go to the Clinical Document Instance Generator. And what this do is it takes an operational template, the OPT, and generates a valid OpenEHR clinical document that complies with that OPT. So what you need to do is browse. You need to look for our operational template here, open, submit, and that's it. If this works, fingers crossed, this worked. Yeah. And what you get here is a full clinical document that complies with OpenEHR and complies with the operational template that you just created. So you will see here, for instance, the composition, physical activity document. So this is the document actually. Then inside you can find, for instance, here the observation, that is the physical activity record. This is the reference to the archetype. And if you go down here, you will find type of exercise is walking, and this is the code. What this does is this finds in the archetype what are the options for the code text and selects the first one. Yeah, and it sets here the name or the text associated with that node and the code. Calorie consumption, it just generates some random number there. Duration, it generates some random number, but the units are correct here. These calories, these minutes, yeah? And some comment generates what? Some just random text. Yeah, but this is valid. The data is valid. Yeah, and this is valid against the OpenEHR standard. And what we will do is we will copy this document because we will use it to commit, to store it into our EHRServer. To actually send a commit to the EHRServer, what we need to do is we need to use some kind of REST API client. What I recommend to use is Insomnia REST client. That Insomnia doesn't work. Let me close that and open an Insomnia. I have two versions of Insomnia here and one doesn't work. Insomnia, this version works. This will open Insomnia REST client. So you need to install Insomnia REST client. Yeah, to install Insomnia REST client, you just go to here and you click on download, and that's it. You can here you can find the download, the direct download, or some guides on how to install the tools depending on your operational system. So I will say after this, you need to install Insomnia REST client to commit data to the EHR server. After you install Insomnia REST client, I will put this here. You need to, I have that already installed and it's running, yeah? And I have here a lot of requests, but you will have this empty, really, the first time you install Insomnia, yeah? So what you need to do is to import the EHRServer Insomnia script. Yeah. And where do you find the EHRServer Insomnia script? I will copy this here so we have the link there. The Insomnia script is available on our repository. If you go to API, this folder, and when you download the project, you actually have these files available on your machine. And you go to the, I think this is the latest one. You can find it here. If you use this file, yeah, you need to grab this file, go to Insomnia, you go here on the arrow, you go to import export, import data from file, and you just select that JSON file and you do an import, and that's it. And what you will get is you will get all these folders created for you. Okay? And what we need to find is the composition folders, sorry. And what you want to do is you want to you will have a lot of samples here that are my tests. You want to clone the first one, for instance. So you duplicate. And this will be, I will change this copy for EHRServer Flow Demo. So I know this is about this demo that I'm doing right now. Yeah. And what this does is this does a commit. This stores an OpenEHR clinical document in the EHRServer, basically. Yeah. So first, what I want to do is I want to copy my generated document here on the body of the request. And you will see that the request starts with a versions element, XML element, yeah? And you will see that the generated document is a version, yeah? So version needs to be inside that tag versions. So I will copy this from here and I will select the current version there so I can delete it. Yeah, I will delete this and I will paste my version, my clinical document, and you will see all the data there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And we need to do some fixes to this XML. Yeah, so I will go here to the steps and I forgot here one step. And it was use the CaboLabs OpenEHR. OpenEHR goes with a lowercase, starts with a lowercase, toolkit to generate a clinical document from the OPT. And that was using this URL. We forgot that step. I will put this above, good. Then we start the Insomnia process here, import the script, and then we need to fix the, I will do here, duplicate the commit request and paste the generated XML from If this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is step 6. So I will start numbering these boxes from step 6. Yeah, so this will be 7. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. Yeah. 9. Sorry for the back and forth. Yeah. So we duplicate the commit request and we paste the generated XML, and that is what we done here. Then we need to fix the XML in Insomnia. And what we need to do is, you can see, for example, that the versions element already contains namespaces. So we need to remove the namespaces from the version element. So the version element should just contain its type. Yeah, that is the first fix that we need to do. Then other fixes, this will work really. But if we want to use the Insomnia functionalities that will help us to test the EHRServer and send many documents to EHRServer, so we can store many documents of this with this structure, what we want to do is to change the UID, this is the identifier of the contribution, to something that is generated on every request. If we send 2 requests with the same UID here, the second will fail because this should be unique. So what I will do is I erase this and I will start typing UUID, and you will select UUID version 4. This will generate a new identifier on each request. And everywhere when you find a UUID on the XML, you can do the same. So here I can do the same. UUID version 4. You will have this portion of this ID is also a UUID. So here UUID version 4, and I think that's it. That is the last. So there are 3 UUIDs to remove, and these are just generators from Insomnia. Also the dates, we can change the dates. So we can select all the dates here. And I think it's this timestamp. We can select timestamp, ISO here, and this will generate a new date every time we do a request. And there are many dates on the documents. So you can, there is one, then here's another date. So I can select timestamp. Here is another UUID that I forgot. So I can say UUID there, version 4, blah, blah, blah. There is another date here. So timestamp, ISO, another date here, timestamp, ISO, blah, blah, blah. And the numbers, these numbers look ugly, so I can say this, I don't know, maybe 200 calories and 30 minutes, 34 minutes. Yeah, keep it that way. And this is ugly also, so this is a comment. This is nicer, and walking is okay, blah, blah, blah. So this looks good, I think. So that was the step of fixing this XML and getting it ready for commit. Then we need to do some adjustments to the URL, yeah, and double check that we have the correct URL here. Right now, this is pointing to production. This is pointing to our production server. I don't want that. I want that to point to our development server locally. So I will select their development, and that should be our URL. Localhost 8090/EHR. That is okay. Good, perfect. If you want to change this, you can go here, manage environments. You can select development there, and you can change this for whatever you want. You have locally. Maybe you have a different port locally. Yeah. So you can change it from here. Good. Another thing that we need to do before sending this to the server is we need to be correctly authenticated. So I will go here to the header, and this is our API token. Yeah, we need to generate an API token here. So I will go to authentication. I will go to login. I will double check that we have username, password, organization. This is the default values. Yeah. So I will try to use this endpoint that points to our server to authenticate, and this, if everything goes correctly, I will get a token, a new token. Yeah. And I will keep this token on the response. Yeah. We can reference this token from other requests. That is why I want this on the response. First is that. Second, I want to get the EHRs. Yeah, I will get the EHRs in the EHRServer. And if you check here, I will use the authorization. This should point to the authentication post login. Yeah, and this will be the response. And this way I reference that response. This is referencing a specific data field in the previous response of the login call that I just did. Yeah. So this looks good. Is my token, and I will send this request to the server, and what I should receive is the EHR that I created when we started. Yeah. We created an EHR somewhere here. Run the EHRServer. I didn't put this here, so I forgot that step. We need to create an EHR, run EHRServer, and log in into the web console. And this was HTTP localhost 8019 / yeah, we created an EHR. That is the EHR that we are getting here on the response. You can see, for instance, the number we assigned to the patient ID here. Yeah, and we need this for the commit, because the commit is referencing that EHR. Yeah, so we go back to our requests, and you can see here is the reference to our token. That is okay. And here on the URL is the reference to the EHR. Yeah, so our EHR should be identified by this ID that appears here, CDF54308 blah blah blah. That should be this UID that we have here, and you can see that is the UID, CDF54308. Yeah, so this is looking good. What this does is this will commit, this will send this document, this composition, to this EHR, to the EHR that is identified this way. Yeah. You can also write here, instead of having an Insomnia variable, you can write here the UID of the EHR that you want to use. Yeah, this is easier for testing. So everything looks good. What I will do is I will hit send. We will cross our fingers and wait for a successful response. And we got a successful response. You have there the created status code. We have a successful message. Yeah, and this created a document on the EHR, and this is the ID assigned to that document. This is the ID of the EHR, and you can see is our EHR, CDF54308 blah blah blah. So this is okay, and our document complies with this archetype, the physical activity document, and complies with this template ID. This is the physical activity document and version 1. This is the template ID that we fixed after we created the OPT. And if we go to the where do we have here? Yeah, if we go to health records here, so the EHRs, we go to the first EHR. That is the only EHR that exists, and you will see a small point there. That is our commit. And you will see here, this is the log of our commit, and you can see physical activity document. It was a creation, it was added for the first time. So yeah, it was successful, and we added the clinical document. You can see here the XML that we committed, and you can see the UIDs generated by Insomnia, and here also more UIDs, and you can see the dates generated by Insomnia, and you will see our data. We will see walking there, calorie consumption 200, this is the value that I changed, and duration 34 minutes, and this is a comment. This is what I put there, and you can see a friendly version of the document. You can see here just a summary of the data in the document. Yeah, so our commit was successful. So I will add here also, this is the 10th step. This will be step 11. And also fix base URL, get an auth token, and get EHRs from Insomnia. And this, I will just comment that this was removing extra name spaces in the XML, generating UUIDs and dates. Yeah, this was our fix of the XML, and then we fixed and got the token and the EHR UID, and then we did the commit. Commit with successful response. Yeah. Check the commit in the EHRServer's web console. Yeah, we checked that the commit arrived successfully here. Yeah, and we can send a couple of documents more just to make things interesting. So what I will do, I will change the calories, 260 46 minutes. I will keep, this is a comment, I can change it. I can also change the type of exercise, but I won't change that. Send, and we receive another successful response, and we keep up with the exercise. So this will be more calories and more minutes there. So we are doing well. Perfect, I committed, successful response. And if we refresh the web console, we can see 1 point here, 1 point here, and 1 point here. And if we go below, we see the 3 commits there. Yeah, and if we go to the details, you can see the data that I just changed on Insomnia is here. Yeah, this is the first one, and this is the third one. Yeah. So good, we stored some clinical data. I will put another step here, change the clinical document a little bit and commit more times. Yeah, so we committed 3 documents. Yeah, here. And now what you want to do is, okay, you store some data. You store some data from your application. Now you want to query that data. You want to get that data back because it's your data. So you go to queries, you can create a query, and you have two options here. You want to get data from the documents, or you want to get full documents. Yeah. So the first thing that we will do is we want data. So for getting data, you need to select data value here, and you will see here templates, all your templates, and we have just one template, the physical activity template. So I will select that template. So this means that I want data that is contained in that template, or in documents that comply with this template. Yeah, this is the OPT. And this template contains two archetypes, the composition and the observation. The data is really on the observation. So we select the observation, and we have all the data points there defined on the observation. And we can find here the data points. For example, type of exercise, calorie consumption, duration, and comment. And since the OpenEHR model for all the free text types, those types can also be coded because of the object-oriented model of OpenEHR. All coded text are free text. So the EHRServer already knows that, so gives you the options of I want to query the free text, or I want to query the coded texts. Yeah. So what I want is calorie consumption first, and I want to get that data. So I hit add projection, and duration is the same. I want to duration, add projection here, and you can see here the archetype that defines the data point, the name of the data point, calorie consumption, and duration. And since archetypes are really trees, this is the path from the root of the tree to the element that defines the calorie consumption, and this is the path from the root to the element that defines the duration. Both are of type quantity. This is the physical quantity. And then if you want to test this query before storing the query, you can adjust some parameters. For example, I want the output in JSON, and I want the data to be grouped by type. This means all the data for durations will be on the same series of data, and all the data for calorie consumption will be on the same series of data. This is grouped by path, grouped by this. Yeah, I want to test this first, so I go below, I hit test, and the EHRServer shows me this small test user interface. I can select first the EHR to filter that data. So this will give me the data from all the existing EHRs, or if I select one EHR, will give me just data from this EHR. Yeah. And I can filter by date range, by the composer of the document, or filtering by composer name, etc. I don't want to filter by that, and I will execute. And this will give me a result. This result is JSON. First is the ID of the, this is the EHR that contains the data. Yeah. And this is the identifier of the calorie consumption node inside the clinical document. This is the type of the node, and you will get the name of the node here, and then you get a series of data points. Basically, we have 3 commits, so we have 3 data points for this calorie consumption. Yeah. And you will get the magnitude here, magnitude, then the units, calories, and then a timestamp. This is the timestamp of when the document was created. Yeah. So basically, it's a series of a time series, and we will get the same for the duration. Yeah. 34 minutes, 46, 57, and then the EHRServer shows you the data, because the data is numeric, in a chart, in a small chart. And this is what you can do on your application. The client of the EHRServer can will receive this data in this format when it uses the REST API to query the EHR server, and you can just show your users the data as a chart or as a table, or you can do some math and show some means or medians of the values, etc. You can do that. You will get all the data back. So it's very nice because you have everything to chart. You have the time series, you have the units, you have the magnitude there. You can show, and you will have also the names for those series in many languages. If I added another template in Spanish for the same document, you will see here also the name of duration as duración in Spanish, or calorie consumption in Spanish will be consumo de calorías. Yeah, you will get that there. So you will be able to show that in many languages on your user interface also. Yeah, so it's as easy as that. We try to make the EHR server as easy as it is possible to for developers really to use on a real project. Yeah, so as you can see, querying is also easy because you don't need to actually code the query. You just need to come here to the query builder. This is the query builder. You will select the structure you define, the template, the archetypes, the data points, and then you will, for data, you just select which data that you want, and that's it. The EHR server will give you the data that you want, and we can create that query. I don't need to create a query, but we can create. To create a query, we need to give it a name, and I can create. Yeah, and after you create a query, the query will be available to be executed from the REST API. So if you go to queries, the queries folder, and you go to get queries, you will hit on send. There is an error there. I don't know where is. The error is here. I need to select this one, and yeah, there we have the list of queries available on the EHR server. So every time you create a query, it will be available from the REST API, and each query is really a data service that you add to your EHR server. So when you need more data to be returned from the EHR server, what you need to do is just create a query, and developers can discover the available queries and can integrate those queries and the query results into their applications. That is as easy as that. So I can come here and I see, hey, this is a new query. You will get a list of queries, and that list will be paginated, so you can get a lot of queries from out from here, and you will see here all the data points that this will return, etc. And if you go to, for instance, query execute, and I will select the right API token. Yeah, and you can see here should be the query UUID that I want to execute. So this will be response. This is a reference to a request response that is queries, get queries. Yeah, and I want this to be queries 0.UID. This is the UID of the first query in the get queries response. Yeah, it's the UID of my query that I just created. Done. So this will be here. Yeah, and we can double check, is this UID. Yeah, and if I hit here on send, let's see if that works, and that worked pretty well. You can see here the results is the identifier of the EHR that contains this data, and then the data. Yeah, you can see here calorie consumption, 200, 260, 350, yeah, and you can see duration. Yeah, this is our data. So basically, in 1 minute, we created the query, and in 10 seconds, we have the query available on the REST API. And you can actually integrate this data into your application. You can use this data to chart as the charts that the EHRServer show you. So you can use that for that. Or, I don't know, maybe you want to make some math and process the data you get, yeah, and give some feedback to the user. Yeah. The type of query that you can create is you want to retrieve documents, yeah, as a result, full documents. So I will go to queries, create, name will be documents. You need to add a name that is meaningful here. The type will be composition, that is the clinical document in OpenEHR. Again, I will first select the template, then select the archetype, then this will show me the data points, and this query can have a filter. So I can put here a complex condition. For example, I want all the documents that contain, for example, the type of exercise, walking or swimming or whatever. Yeah. So I will go to type of exercise, and here you will see the criteria builder for that node. You can see here code equals to, or in list, or in SNOMED expression. I won't explain what this is right now because it's a little complex and we have other videos about this. But we can say, hey, I want the type of exercise to be equal to something or to be on this list. Yeah. And equal to what? We have here already populated the available codes, walking, running, blah, blah, and this is taken from the template. So the EHRServer is smart enough to give you the options instead of you putting the options by hand. So, yeah, so this is very, very easy to use. So I can select type of exercise, walking, good, perfect. And if you say, no, I want walking or maybe running. Okay, running. You select both and you can select those simple conditions, and you can here join them by an OR condition. So this is, I want all the documents that contain the type of exercise that is walking or is running because of this OR. Yeah, so it's as easy as that. And you can get, for example, the result in JSON or XML, and you can test also this query. I can also filter by EHR. I can execute this, and you will get something like this. Yeah, these are not the full documents. These are just references to the documents that contain the data that complies with your condition. Yeah, and since all the documents that we committed 3 documents, have type of exercise equals to walking, what we got in the result are the 3 documents. Yeah, because it's walking or running. Yeah, so we can remove the conditions, for example. Yeah, good. If we want all the documents that contain a type of exercise, swimming, and you execute again, you will get no results because we didn't commit anything about swimming. Good. If we want, for instance, instead of swimming, we want walking, the condition equals to walking. And let's check the duration. We can say the duration is greater than 50 minutes or hours. You see there also populated the valid values here. And maybe this is an and. I believe this will get us 1 result. And this is 1 result. Because all the documents have the type of exercise being walking, but just one has the duration being more than 50 minutes. So because this is an AND, should comply with both conditions. So the second condition is filtering just by one document. Yeah, and this is the reference to the document. You can get the full document with all the contents using this identifier. Yeah, or maybe I can say yes. I don't remember if this is working. I had some issues with this. No, but it's working. You can say retrieve data from here, yes, so you won't get just a reference to the document, you will get the document. And this is the document, the same document that we committed, but since we asked the EHR server to return JSON, it is transforming the document from XML to JSON. And you can verify this document complies with our condition. You will see our activity is walking and the duration is 57 minutes. So this complies with our condition. Yeah? And we can create this query. Yeah. And if we go to get queries here, we will get the first query that we created, and we will get also the second query that we created. Yeah. And in the same way, we can execute the second query and get those documents back. And we can use those documents to show the contents on an application for an end user. We can show that document to a doctor, we can show that document to the patient, etc. It depends on the application that you have. And that's it. Basically, that's it. So I will update our steps here. So we changed the clinical document and did some commits. Then we started to create queries. So we create a data value query, selecting some fields to be returned. Tested that on the query builder. And then saved it. Yeah. Return, good. After this, we in Insomnia get queries, and the query is there. Yeah, we did that in Insomnia. We did get queries, the query is there, and then we did query execute. Using the query UUID, and we got the same result as we got on the test from the the query builder in the web console. So query execute using the query UUID, got the same result as we got from the query builder test. Okay. And then we created a document, create a composition query from the query builder, test and save. Then we did a get queries from Insomnia again, and the two queries are there. Yeah, and we can execute. We didn't do that, but we can execute the second query, and we can get the results for the second query in Insomnia. Yeah, so yeah, that is all that you need to know about the EHRServer to actually be able to store and query data. And this is all compliant with the OpenEHR standard. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you found any issues on any of these steps, you can go to our Gitter. We have a Gitter account here where you can ask questions, you can put your issues there. So if you have issues, you can ask on Gitter. Yeah, we have here the channel for the EHRServer. Yeah. And I will publish this flow. I will just polish this flow before publishing, and I will put the flow link on the description of this video. If you want to know more about the EHRServer, you have again our blog. You have here in the Cloud EHRServer page, you have some guides. You have the full guide of the EHRServer. This also contains the specification of all the REST API and how to install and configure the EHRServer locally. You also, if you want to know at a high level what the EHRServer is and how you can use the EHRServer on your projects, you can check the white paper. That is a pretty basic introduction to EHRServer, not non-technical at all. And you can find here also the conformance statement with the OpenEHR standard. This is basically how it's a guide on how the EHRServer complies with the OpenEHR standard. Basically is that. And if you need more help, you can go here to the CaboLabs website. We have an online education program here. We do courses almost every month about health information systems, standards, and interoperability. We have a lot of courses related to OpenEHR and how OpenEHR is used and implemented. And we have also courses about interoperability in general, where we see OpenEHR plus some areas of 807, DICOM, and other standards and good practices. So you can come here if you are interested on any of our courses or workshops. You can just sign up on our waiting list. For each course, we have one waiting list, and you will receive a notification when we open the enrollments for those courses. Yeah, and that's it. And if you want to know more about me, you can come here. I'm Pablo Pasos. That is me. And here you can find my Twitter, my GitHub account, my LinkedIn. If you want to add me to your professional network, it will be great to know about you. And if you are using the EHRServer, will be great to know about what you are using the EHRServer for. And if I can help, of course, let me know. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little long, but explains the whole process step by step, so everyone can follow step by step, and this will work because I was testing things live. I didn't prepare this presentation. I just did what needs to be done, and everything worked okay. So if you follow the same steps, it will work for you. This is it. Have a good day. Bye-bye.